Welcome back, everyone, to another episode of Psychocinematic. Today, I am joined by the only person that I would say can contend with my eyebrows, and that is Sheree. How are you, Sheree?
I'm good, and I totally agree with that statement. You got some great eyebrows, man.
Yeah, I feel like it's a blessing and a curse.
Totally.
But, I've literally had people, pull, like, while I'm stuck at a light, girls are like, I love your eyebrows, and they're always saying they would kill for it. So I guess that's something to be sought after. But,
it is.
It
feels nice, but it's like,
yeah.
I don't think they understand how hard it is to tame these puppies. It is not.
Oh yeah, and it's dangerous trying to for me trying to trim it. I'm not good at it, and so I get so scared.
Same.
But the movie that we are covering, the movie that we watched was Parasite. And it's my first time, and was it your second time, or?
It was my second time. I'd seen it in the theater, but I hadn't seen it since. So it
Gotcha.
was a nice refresher. Definitely forgot how creepy it is.
I definitely missed the boat when it came out because I felt like I heard about it in 2020, and then I don't know. I was just like, I'm looking at the cover. I'm like, it looks pretty weird, and I heard it's all in Korean, and I hate reading subtitles. But then I heard great things, and I was really hoping that it was dubbed, but I was very bummed to see that I had to read.
Yeah, the whole time. You're basically reading a book for 3 hours. So
yeah, and then even like the way. I don't know. I feel like the way the conversation goes, like the translation of things is kind of weird sometimes. And then you realize that with their names, it's like their last name gets said first too.
Yeah.
That was throwing me off.
Their family name is first. But then
and I was like, is everyone named Park?
Yeah, it's very very different. Different culture.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, which actually leads me to the next point, and we were talking about this earlier, is that we're going to butcher the names.
Yes.
Probably. We're going to do our best, and I've written down most of the names to try and refer to, but I think just to make things easier, we do Mr. and Mrs. Kim and Mr. and Mrs. Park.
Yes,
and then
that's what I was going to say. I was like, can we just refer to them as like the Kims and the Parks? Because otherwise I'm going to be butchering these and offending people, and I don't want to do that.
Yeah, I tried looking up a video to see like how to pronounce them. Yeah. And I wasn't finding anything. So I'll do my best, but
They all say it differently too. And I also found like 4 different iterations of the director's name. Like some people say Bong, some people are like no, it's Bong. And I'm like, oh God, I don't know. Yeah,
that's tough.
Yeah.
And it's too bad that us Americans don't know more than one language.
I
know.
So
this movie was not at all what I thought it was going to be, because I read a little synopsis on it, and I thought that it was going to be all about like them basically stealing this family's identity, like to its core.
Oh.
And so I was like, it'd be really interesting to see like how they can actually achieve this. And the part in the movie when they come up with the it's like that service that sends out help to people.
Oh,
I can't remember what it was called right now.
It's like a temp agency, basically.
Yeah. When they had that, and Ki Jung, the daughter, she was on the phone asking for their home records and all this stuff, like the title to their house. And I was like, this is how it starts. Like, no way. I was like, I still didn't know what they could do with that information, but then it was not that at all. And that was only like 35 minutes in the movie or something like that. So it was crazy.
The level of con artistry was just like, oh my God. Even when the father, when Mr. Kim, when he's driving Mr. Park around to kind of like that, like basically like an interview.
Yeah.
The fact that he drove so smoothly, I was like, oh my God, these are these people who are like, they're Renaissance people, they have like a little bit of skill of everything, and they can just, they can fool you like that.
Yeah.
That is terrifying to me. I'm like, how many of those people have I met in my life that I didn't even realize?
You had no idea.
Yeah.
Well, and you live in LA, so there's probably a lot of them.
Exactly.
It's a big city. Yeah, well, I wrote that about them is that like I don't even understand how they are that poor if they are that good at this. Like they slid into this family like they've done it 100 times. And so I'm just like, how have you guys like not been able to like, do you guys spend your money poorly or something? Like I'm not getting why you're in this situation.
That is some pretty like psychological skills there to be able to just lie like that, and then be so convincing and so endearing and so helpful. I mean, oh my God, it's just like, how do you do that? How do you sleep at night?
I know.
Clearly they didn't, but
yeah, well, they tried, but then they ended up sleeping under the coffee table or just hanging out there. Okay, now that I just thought about that coffee table scene when they're all hiding under there, I didn't expect to get into this so early, but that is probably the most like dirty, fully clothed sex scene I've probably ever seen. Yeah. And I'm just like, I was blown away. I was like, this is so uncomfortable to watch. Was
not expecting that at all in the theater.
Yeah.
I saw this with my family because my dad's like a huge movie buff. And so I'm sitting next to my dad during that scene, and I was just like, oh my God, this is so awkward.
Is your dad one of those people who's like, close your eyes or fast forward?
Yeah. He was like, look away.
Yeah. And it lasted a long time. I was like, man, this is like, it's like you're a fly on the wall. It's really uncomfortable. Yeah.
I think the whole movie did such a good job of like really making you so uncomfortable. And that was just, I would say that was probably the part that was like the most uncomfortable. But even like the ending, the tension that it put in my body, I don't think I had seen a movie in years that had done that to me, because there's so much predictability in a lot of stories these days.
Yeah, definitely.
And this was just the amount of layers, the amount of like symbolism on every level, the cultural level, the climate crisis level, the socioeconomic classes, like all of it was just like, I'm so glad I watched it again. I'm so glad we did this movie because there was so much in there that I missed, and now I got to revel in it.
I feel like I would need to watch it a few times just to catch everything, because that's honestly my only thing that I didn't like about this movie was that I couldn't just slow down and appreciate like the cinematography and all that stuff because I'm reading the subtitles. Yeah. And I was just like, man, if I can only imagine how much better this is when you can pick up on little things. Like if you watch like a Jordan Peele movie, the amount of symbolism that's in there, like just with like colors that he's using. And you're just like, I'm sure they're doing this nonstop in that movie too. Like I was reading up on it and they were talking about like just the huge symbolism of like stairs in the movie. But it's like, I'm not catching that in the moment. Like after they say it, I'm like, okay, I could see that being, you know, like the separation of the two classes and like just the duality of these lives, and like how rain is great for this family and rain's horrible for this other family. That is so crazy.
It's so funny
that was a rough part to watch.
It's so funny that you bring up Jordan Peele, because I remember, I honestly can't remember who was doing the interview. Oh my God, can people stop calling me? Like, seriously.
They're like, we're just trying to get her a Marvel movie.
Like, literally. That would be amazing.
That'd be crazy.
I can't remember who was in the interview. It was someone from the film. Maybe it was the director, but I remember them talking about the parallels between, because I think Jordan Peele's movie Us came out right around the same time as Parasite, I think, or same year maybe. Maybe it was right before. But I remember that they were talking about the parallels between like how Us was sort of like a mirror between two families and their economic classes, and how Parasite was like that too. These families were so similar in so many ways, and then yet so different. And I didn't really realize that until I watched it this time, and I realized like how much these characters reflect each other. Yeah. And the amount of like distance between them, and they were in the same house. Like that's crazy to me.
Yeah, it is crazy. And that's a really good point, because I didn't think about that, but it on like a similar note, I was thinking, because Squid Game came out, and like, did you watch Squid Game?
Oh yeah.
So I mean, obviously, like the South Korean like film industry seems to talk a lot about like that social economic class and like the disparity amongst that. And I was like, man, how bad is it in South Korea? But like I tried Googling it, and it sounds like it's about everywhere else. And I was like, am I just not noticing it in like our film stuff? And then when you point out Us, I'm like, okay, yeah, it's like the exact same thing, just said a little differently. I just couldn't believe that has been going over my head for, years.
Well, it's not ever. It's like, it's only really the good films that do that.
Yeah. See, I don't really know because like I haven't watched a lot of South Korean stuff like really since Squid Game is. Now I'm seeing it everywhere, and so, but I'm realizing how good that stuff is.
Yeah,
so,
there's definitely like K dramas that are like not very good, but that's like the whole genre of it. It's very soap opera-y but that's cool.
So, did you know that like pretty much the entire movie is like they're just constantly using visual effects? Because I remember seeing this like way before I saw the movie, but I forgot about it when I was watching it. And it makes sense why. Because so like they built this house for this movie.
I didn't know that.
Yeah, and it's only one floor. So like the second floor is all blue screen. It's all just like set extensions that they're doing. So like around the yard, it's all blue screen because they were saying like trees was too much. Like they have like some, but then it just extends out. When they go down to the street, like what you're seeing up the street, blue screen. Like it's crazy.
Are you
just
serious?
Constant blue screen.
Wow.
Yeah. And then like every individual room is supposedly like its own sound stage. And then the scene where their house is flooding. They built that in like a pool and stuff. There's a more in-depth look on it on a channel called Corridor Crew, but they do VFX artists react. Like I'll put that in the link if anyone's listening and wants to see that. But it's super cool, and they've just the fact that you can't tell the entire time. You're just like, wow, like this is crazy.
That's amazing. I was so convinced. I was so convinced by that all of that was real.
Yeah.
So each bedroom had its own soundstage, like built out.
That's what they said in that video. Wow. It shows them walking, like the first scene when Ki-woo's walking up to the house. It shows it's only one floor with the blue screen up top. But in that Corridor Crew breakdown, they said that it was it's just a giant warehouse where they have each room in a soundstage, which is kind of nuts. And I just like wonder like what is the budget? I should have looked that up. Yeah, and then what's even crazier is supposedly they edited this on a computer that hadn't been updated since like 2014 and on Final Cut Pro 7.
Oh
and
my
I'm
gosh.
Just like, what? How? And I'm sure the VFX probably weren't done on that, but the normal editing, which is just mind blowing.
I just looked up the budget. So it grossed over 263 million worldwide on a $15.5 million budget.
That seems like a really low budget.
That's a really low
for
budget.
what they had to do.
That is not. I was honestly thinking like 50 million.
Yeah.
For all of that, that's crazy. Wow.
That is crazy, man. 15 million.
I know.
And what? That's so much profit.
That's so much profit. That's so much profit.
I want these movies to win because I want Hollywood and like I guess Korean Hollywood to make more of these.
Totally.
The part where they're getting the driver fired by leaving the underwear in the driver's car.
Yeah.
So what blows my mind about that is that Mr. Park shows the underwear to Mrs. Park like nothing. And I feel like the average relationship, you would express like major hesitance, be like, hey, I mean, I know we're super rich and I just found these in our driver's car, like immediately assuming that she's not going to think that
I didn't even think about that. I didn't even think about that.
I was just like, I feel like on these movies, when I'm taking notes, I have like this bullshit alarm.
Yeah.
I mean, like, I would be fine with doing that, but I would still be a little scared that they would think that I did that, you know? So I just, yeah, I was like, I don't know if they do it differently in Korea or if they just have like this stellar relationship. I don't know.
Yeah. I guess that's just, to me, that's just like, okay, I guess you guys trust each other a lot then, because I don't know, if my husband was handing me some panties that I didn't recognize, I'd be like,
Yeah.
who do these belong to?
I call bullshit.
Right.
Something else too that happened. So they kept referencing Chicago as like where they went to school, and I'm wondering, like, is Chicago to the world like the most American thing? Because I would normally think like New York or LA would be like, if you're gonna say America and you were gonna say a city, you would say one of those. But so when I was in high school, I went on a mission trip to Kenya, and we were walking through like the slums of Kaimaico, and these random guys tried, you know, like starting a conversation with me, or not really start a conversation. They were just kind of making fun of me as I'm walking through. And they tried doing an American accent, and they're like, I'm from Chicago. And so I'm just like, is Chicago like everyone's go-to?
That must be.
Like,
that's so weird.
To me, that's like maybe like the 4th or 5th city I would think of when I think America. But
I always thought that when people thought of America, they thought of like cowboys. So I always thought that they thought of like Texas or something like that.
Yeah.
Like that's strange that it's Chicago, because I would definitely say New York.
Yeah,
or
I feel like New York would be the hub
yeah.
to think about.
Even LA, really.
Yeah, I know. I mean, 2 of the hugest cities.
Yeah.
I think still, like in the U.S., but every time we go to like Mexico or something and they ask where we're from, we say Nevada, and they're like, oh, Vegas. It's like, no. Reno. Like, I'm closer to LA than I am to Vegas.
Yeah. So one thing people associate with Nevada, Vegas.
Yeah. Yep. Vegas, prostitution, gambling. It's great.
It's the best.
If you were to rate it out of 10, what would you give it?
Oh my God. I would say probably a 9. And I would say that for me, it wouldn't get the full 10 just because of the subtitle thing.
Yeah.
But that's not really like a knock to the movie. It's just more so like the inconvenience of trying to read and watch at the same time. That can get a little stressful. I remember the first time I saw it, I was like, I know I was missing things because I was so focused on reading this as quickly as I can.
Yeah.
So I would say 9 out of 10.
Yeah.
What would you give it?
Well, see, I'm in the same boat. It sucks because I feel like it's amazing. I want to give it a 10 out of 10. But yeah, like, first of all, my reservation is with the subtitles because I can't fully experience the movie ever unless they dub it. But even then, it's like you don't get the same enunciation or like the same voice as the actor, so it's not quite there, you know. So that's not really me taking points away from them, but I feel like it's not a 10 in my book because I kind of think like when it's a 10, I will know it's a 10 because I can't stop talking about it. Like that's how I felt about Get Out and Us. Like I felt like those were both 10s. Like I could not stop talking about these movies.
100%.
But even without like Korean subtitles or having to read that stuff, like when you rewatch movies that you can just understand, you pick up on so much more. And so I can only imagine how long it would take me to actually understand everything that they're trying to show us in the movie.
Yeah, totally. I think that's the beauty. Like with Get Out and Us, it's like when you can identify with something in the film, you engage much more. So with Parasite, I identified with it in terms of all the things he was commenting on in terms of like socioeconomic class and like the climate, like even the rainstorm, that whole thing, the flooding, like the hierarchical way that he like laid out the city to where like the rich people on the top, they got to watch the rain from their living room. and then the people at the bottom are literally submerged in like sewage. Like those kind of things I can definitely relate to and empathize with. But when it's not like directly related to my life, it's harder to kind of make it a 10 for me, because I'm like,
Yeah.
I really, really liked it. I don't think I was like the target audience for this, but it was a beautiful film and it was very well made.
We definitely have to talk about, the way things just go completely south in like the last 20 minutes. Like starting with Ki Woo going down there with the Scholar's Rock. And it's like, so first of all, do you think he's going down there with the intentions of killing Gyeonsei?
I didn't think so.
What do you think he's doing?
I don't know, but I didn't think that was like the motive, and then it just like turned around so fast. I think it's, I don't know. Honestly, that whole part was just like, what the fuck is happening? Yeah.
See, I lean towards, I think he was going down there to kill Gyeonsei because of the conversation that he had with his dad when he sounded so defeated when they're in that like shelter, the gym, sleeping.
Yeah.
I felt like he was like, this is the only way I'm gonna like pull my family out of it. But then I wasn't sure. He just looked so determined with the rock, and I'm like, I don't know, like, are you going to go straight barbarian on these people?
Well, that's what I was like. Are you trying to like make amends? Is this a peace offering? I wasn't sure, but
it could have been.
But that definitely bit him in the ass, didn't it?
Oh yeah,
did not
big
work
time.
out.
So like after that backfires, and then the antagonist comes out and beats him with his own rock. I then made a note. I was like, how many people in this movie are going to look like they die but not actually die and like should have died from what happened? Because like when Moon Gwang gets kicked down the stairs and you hear her head hit and just bleeding, I thought for sure she was done. I thought for sure. And then the fact that, I mean, I noticed that the second time he threw the rock, like he kind of missed.
Yeah.
But like he messed him up. And I thought for sure he was done. And
then he wakes up in the hospital, and I was like, "Oh,
good to go.
Guess he's not dead."
Yeah,
the
out
whole
of all the injuries,
and then the birthday party. Just like, I also thought it was really interesting that. Also, can we just talk about how the little boy's trauma when he was eating the cake on the ground, and then the guy comes up from the bunker and his little eyeballs. Oh my God, that freaked me out, and I'm an adult. Yeah. Can only imagine.
No, I know. They filmed that so well. I'm wondering if they filmed that practically, like, or if they had to edit, like visual effects, like for the eyes to glow like that, because it looked like a cat or something.
It
did.
It was so.
It was really good.
Oh, that was so like. Demon.
And you can understand what a kid's nightmares like how they could structure a kid's nightmares.
Yeah.
Yeah,
absolutely.
That was a very cool shot.
Oh, but when he comes out, I'm sorry, I keep forgetting his name.
Gyeonsei.
Yes.
It's like Geunsae.
You're better than me. You are better than me. But
I've stared at it a lot.
When he comes out of the bunker into the party, and he's like the blood on him, he looks like he's wearing war paint. Mm-hmm. And then the fact that the Parks and the Kim, like, they're dressed up with the Indian headwear, I was like,
yeah.
The commentary on this is just,
I know.
It's flawless. It's like, I can't even imagine a better, like, scene of a crazy man with war paint attacking someone with a knife and just, oh my God. I love that part. I mean, I didn't love it, but like I loved it.
I watched the first half with my wife, and then I don't like to do this, but then we fell asleep, and then I watched the last half by myself.
Yeah.
And I was just like alone, like just like like no one like can react with me. Like, this is crazy. I did not expect any of this. But that was a crazy turning point in the movie when the old housekeeper shows up. I was like, oh my God, this woman's crazy. I thought for sure she was just gonna go in there and axe murder them all or something.
So did I. Well, her little face on the camera. Oh my God. Yeah. I was like, okay.
She was way too nonchalant and like just chill with,
this lady.
The person who replaced her. I was like, no, don't let her in.
You know what's funny too? I think I read I read so much. I don't know where I read this, but it was something about them wanting to actually call the movie Parasites because technically the house was already infested before the Kims came. So technically it was like Parasite on Parasite.
Yeah.
Which I thought was so interesting because I don't know. I took that as another commentary on like the working class. Like how a lot of times we're like, in the working class, we're like fighting each other more than we're fighting the system.
Yeah.
Because fighting the
system
is
because you got to
like
compete
hopeless.
with each other to put like food on the plate.
Absolutely. And I think he did a really good job of commenting on how even the people you have the most in common with, those people are more your enemy than what the world is telling you your enemy is. Like your enemy is like, oh, the higher class, the rich people. It's
Dang,
like,
that's good. Well, that is really good.
Yeah.
I feel like you could forever pick this movie apart and just like, oh my God, another one.
That's what I'm saying. It's so,
that's
I
crazy.
love it. Yeah.
The director, who I believe he also wrote it when I was looking at the credits, the script, it said it was written, like the final draft was completed in 3.5 months. And I was like, first of all, I have nothing to really compare that to because I was like, I don't know how quick that is, but it sounds quick for like a almost 10 out of 10 movie, you know, at least in my book. And so I Googled it today, and they were saying that on average, like the first draft is finished between like 4 to 12 weeks. So like a month to 3 months. So I guess that's not that special, but it seemed pretty special. I don't know. I guess what makes it special is the fact that it's so good.
That's really, I wonder how many rewrites he did. Cause I've dabbled in writing. I took writing in college, screenwriting, and, it's really like the amount of rewrites you have to do, and 3 months for that film. I mean, that just seems like insane because the amount of detail and commentary in there is like, I feel like he went through every scene. He went through every scene and made sure that it was like saying something. Like you have to in order to move the story forward. Because I don't think there was any point in the film where I was like bored.
It's a long movie too, but nothing seemed to be fluff in there.
Yeah, no.
So that like is really nice. But what I was reading about it too is that it was saying that I believe it started as a play, and then he's like, oh no, never mind, this got to be a movie. And then he wrote it as a movie, and then I believe he wanted, I think it was Mr. Kim, like the actor who played Mr. Kim, to be in it. Otherwise, he didn't want to make the movie. And I don't know if they're friends or something, or if they worked together on like a previous film.
I think he's a pretty popular Korean actor. Yeah. I'm pretty sure he's done a lot of like really big things in Korea. That's what I
thank God he was in it. Because if we didn't have this movie, I'd be pretty upset. It's
too.
Pretty good.
And he was so good in it. I love how deadpan he was. You know, throughout the film.
He looks so dead inside.
Oh, like so bitter, so dead.
The only life that you would see in his eyes is when he's like, "We are scamming these people good." Yeah. That was the only time. So something that I like to do on these podcasts is say, like a stupid moral of the story, like something that is a moral of the story, but is not like the intended thing that they wanted it to be. And let me know if you have any, but this one, I said, the moral of the story is that word of mouth is a motherfucker and Photoshop comes in handy and will get you places. Like it's nuts. Like, I mean, if you didn't have the word of mouth, none of them would have made it in there. And also like the word of mouth wouldn't have gotten, just Ki Woo in there in the very beginning from his friend. Yeah. So like the connections are everything. Yeah. And then all the editing they did, making it, they're like, oh, look how official this business card looks, And
the degree,
just because you know how to design.
Because doesn't he does his degree too? Like he fakes his degree. Oh my God, I know. Yep. I'm like, man, I should just fake a Harvard degree and like go get a job.
There you go. So it's funny, talking about like those fraudulent documents. I was presented a job. I got hit up by someone in LA asking, hey, can you Photoshop a receipt? I was like, I mean, I can. What's it for? And like, oh, just a client wants this receipt photoshopped. I was like, I'm probably going to pass because it's probably to fake something, like
Probably
official.
something sketchy.
Yeah. And he's like, oh my God, I did not think of that. He's like, I'm going to pass on this one too. But apparently, I mean, people in LA are hustling.
I mean, yeah, I guess you got to get yours where you get it. But yeah, I'm glad you passed on that because that would not be fun to be involved in some illegal.
No. So one of the other things I want to talk about was just the idea of the scholar's rock that he was given.
Oh yeah.
That Kiwoo was given from the friend.
Yeah. What did you think about? What did you think that like represented?
So I looked up because he said it was supposed to bring him like good luck and wealth.
Yeah.
And so like I looked up about that and they said it was a scholar's rock and that's about what that's for. But it's interesting because they just keep referring to it in the movie and he saves it and then was maybe going to use it as a peace offering or to kill. But then it ends up like I wrote that he, he has this and it's supposed to be the hope of luck and good or in wealth. But he got the exact opposite of that in the end.
Totally.
But then I was thinking, I was like, you know what? Maybe because of that rock, because like, he was walking down into that basement with it. Maybe that rock did in fact give it to him because, from my summation of what happened is he didn't actually buy the house to save his dad, that like that's now his goal.
Yeah.
And so maybe now he has legit aspirations and a crazy drive to actually do something legit, make a ton of money and free his dad. So maybe it was in a really sick way, his way of, getting wealth.
Such a beautiful like juxtaposition because it's like I think the director was commenting on how like hope is also a parasite because if his hope to gain all this wealth and his drive to do that and the way that the director kind of ended the film with this fantasy of him and even the way the camera like pans down, like it shows like the fantasy of them getting what they wanted and then as it goes down he's back in that like subterranean like apartment all alone just reading the letter. Like that to me was just that's the killer, I think, is that him holding on to that rock so hard and like valuing it so much, being one of the things he wanted to save from his home. And ultimately it's like, how many years would he have to work in order to buy that? Like, I think we all know Seriously. He's probably not going to get that house. And that's like the sad piece of it. It's like, oh man.
Right. Yeah, when I was looking up more about that Scholar Rock, but in terms of that movie, they were saying that they think that it represents like just capitalism and like the opportunity that's there. And it's like, are you going to, step up for the calling and then get chewed up by the system and then, spit out? And like it works for some. I mean, clearly, his friend who gave it to him is now, traveling abroad and whatnot. But what did you think about like how quickly his Kiwoo decided to move in on the Park's daughter, like as in terms of like the romantic relationship, even though his friend was like, I fully intend on dating her after she, graduates or whatever.
Well, that just
and
to
he
me
just
was
didn't
like,
even care at all.
Yeah, he was just like practicing the parasitic, attitude that he had towards everything and like moving in on this girl when he knows his friend wants her. That's just another element of him taking what isn't his and sucking it dry.
Being cutthroat and enemy is, someone you have more in common with.
I love too the imagery at the end when they're like running out of the party and she's like, I think she's like literally carrying him on her back.
Yeah. And you know what? She probably saved his life. Or, I mean, maybe she made it worse. I mean, because you're not supposed to touch a body. And I'm guessing the police would have been there anyway.
Oh, yeah.
So I don't know.
That's a
But
good point.
yeah, I mean, that imagery, like, she seemed like a genuine nice character in there, and I feel like there wasn't a ton of them.
No,
like
no.
they all have like redeeming qualities, but also horrible
qualities. Yeah. I also just thinking about the last scene. I was thinking about when Mr. Park is like screaming for the keys, and then when he goes and grabs the keys and he like plugs his nose just to grab them, I was like, that is so backwards. That is so messed up that in life and death, he's watching his daughter die.
You're still that bothered.
You're still that bothered by these poor people. Like, ugh.
Well, that in the end is what killed him. I mean, that was like the final straw.
Yeah. It's so reflective of like our society, really. There's people like that who are so bothered by the lower class, which is so funny because it's like that's like the labor of the whole country. Like they're building the country, they're doing the work that you don't want to do. Like
after it was all done, I was thinking about the movie, and I just started thinking about that ending and how things spiraled out of control super fast. And I was just thinking, what would have happened had Ki-woo not gone down there? And it looked like if he wasn't going to go down there, that his sister Ki-jung was going to go down there. And my guess is surely the same thing would have happened to her. She would have been like, I mean, he was so calculated down there, how he like, the antagonist wrapped the thing around his neck and, pinned him up, but like he ended up getting out. But anyway, like she probably would have died just a little bit earlier. But so I started thinking about this as like, honestly, the best case scenario for them goes back to what Mr. Kim said, which is the best plan is to do nothing at all. Like, is to have no plan. If they would have stuck to that, they would have just died down there and they could continue their parasitic life and, like just keep going and they would all be alive.
Yeah, that's a good point. I didn't even think about that. That's a really good point.
Yeah, so it's weird. It's like that, like just that, the dead, the dead soul that he had at that point would have actually gotten them out of that current predicament. Though I don't know how much longer he could have lasted with them talking shit about his smell.
Yeah, so sad. Ugh.
Yeah, it's bad.
I thought that was interesting too when they had the house, while the Parks went out to go camping. And they like took over the house and they were all like slobby and gross.
Oh, yeah.
I thought it was interesting that they didn't take advantage of those things. Like showering and doing, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
They didn't take advantage of
They just went straight for food and alcohol.
They went straight for like the self-indulging stuff.
Yeah.
Which I thought was like.
Yeah, I didn't even think about that.
Is that another commentary on like the working class and how we self-indulge too much because we're like hopeless? Like there's no point in working hard. Let's just numb out.
Or they're just animals who just need to feed.
Yeah.
Something like that.
Something like that.
Yeah. Man, there is so much to this movie.
I know. It's crazy.
Crazy. To go back to I can't remember if I officially said what my like ranking of this was. I think it's a 9.5 for me or a 9. Okay. It's somewhere between there. But that's about, because I always like compare it to like how Rotten Tomatoes did it, because it's so weird. Sometimes we line up and then most of the time it's like so far off and they're like, all right, you guys just step off your high horse for a second and say this movie was all right for once. But the critics gave it 98% and then the audience gave it 90, so we fall in there. So at least they get the credit they are earned.
They're making some good calls, at least. A lot of times I feel like they make bad calls and I'm like, what? Yeah, like sometimes they'll say something's like a 95% and I'll watch it and I'm like, what? This is not.
Oh my god. Like, I watch a lot of random movies, which is what made me want to start this podcast. And there was one, it's called something like the killing of a sacred deer or something like that. Have you seen that?
I've seen the preview for that. Yes. Doesn't that have Colin Farrell? Colin Farrell. Yeah.
Yeah, well, they rank it decently high. I think like at least 70% or something like that. It was one of the worst movies I had ever seen. It just drags on so long. I stopped it after like an hour and a half, and it is a long movie. And I was just like, you got to be kidding me. And like now my wife and I kind of judge these movies off of the title. Like if you have something foo-foo like the killing of a sacred deer that is like way too deep for what your movie actually is.
Yeah.
Oh, it makes me so mad. Yeah. I feel like I can't trust them, you know? And then some of my favorite movies, they give really low. I'm just like, okay.
I know.
I mean, I guess comedy, like they absolutely hate
Oh,
comedy.
they hate comedies. But I'm like,
Yeah.
a lot of comedies are bad in terms of like
story, I guess, but like
exactly, like actual like film, but you know, not all comedies are meant to be like, they followed the techniques and you know.
Let's talk about the jokes. Like, did you have fun?
Yeah,
fun
exactly.
in the movie?
It was entertaining. Like some movies are just meant to be entertaining. They're not meant to be like, and this is what the director feels about our society. Like it's not all that, but.
I really enjoyed this, and I wanted to know, because we were talking about Get Out and Us, are you down to be back on here for Nope when Nope comes out?
Oh my God, yes. I just saw that trailer the other day, and I was like, I am buying tickets now.
I couldn't be happier.
I love...
When I saw Jordan Peele and Aliens.
I love the title. I love Nope. I love it.
I mean, if we all haven't said that while... you know, in the theaters watching a horror movie.
On.
Nope.
Not going in that room. Yeah. Nailed it.
I'm so pumped on that. And I feel weird about this movie because they make it seem like it's definitely going to be aliens, but I'm like, it's not like Jordan Peele to just tell you straight up what it's going to be.
Yeah, exactly.
So it's like, it's going to be, I don't know, like they're on a movie set or they're like, you know, they're in the Matrix and they're not actually there. You know, like it's just like,
oh my God.
I'm really scared it's not actually going to be aliens. And I love alien horror movies when they're done right.
Me too.
It's like the ultimate scary thing for me because I feel like it's plausible.
What's your favorite alien like horror film? Alien?
Well, it's funny because, the one that I had the most fun watching, and I've only seen it once, and it was like a B-rated movie. Honestly, it's probably not that well done, but I had like 2 cocktails, you know, I'm watching it with my friends, and it is called, I think, Area 51. It's probably like, no one take my advice that this is a good movie, but I really enjoyed it in the moment. So it's shot like Paranormal Activity, but the whole idea of it is that they want to sneak onto Area 51 to see what is actually in there and document it. And, you know, like I've thought about that, like whether or not if you had the opportunity to go look at Area 51, like would you do it? Like, but you were not allowed to tell anyone. And so you would just have to live with like this idea. And so it's really eerie for me to like have that build, you know, the ramp of when they finally get in there and what they end up seeing. And it's, I mean, but I'm kind of weak for the alien stuff because of like one period of my life where I felt like I kept seeing things and I never believed in aliens before then. So I was just like, now it bothers me, but I love them at the same time. So I'm just like, I don't know.
That's crazy. You kept seeing things?
Yeah, well, a lot of them I later like debunked. I was way too vigilant for things that weren't actually there. And all of them but one I can explain. There's one, and like my wife saw it, my stepdad saw it. My stepdad will write it off like nothing. I don't know why. We all saw it.
Yeah.
My sisters saw it, and I'm just like, why? It looked like a Chinese lantern festival, but it was in an area of town that's like completely desert. I mean, it's a pretty like. Reno and Sparks, especially back then, was not that big.
Yeah.
We would know if there was a Chinese lantern festival going on. And so I'm just like, there's no way. And my stepdad even drove out there and he said he saw nothing. There's no cars parked, like nothing. And so I don't know how he still writes it off, but.
That
anyway,
sounds terrifying.
What's your favorite alien horror movie?
Okay, the first ones that come to mind are the original one. And I guess it's not the Alien. It's just Alien. And then also Signs. I really liked I haven't
seen it yet. I need to.
Oh my God.
I know.
Okay.
I've seen like the beginning of it years ago.
you have to.
Yeah, I'll definitely have to watch that one, and I'm sure I'll cover it on here. And everyone's like, "Why are you covering this movie that's like so old,
20 years old?" It's like whatever. It still holds up. It's still creepy as hell, man. It's like,
and the original Alien's good too.
I want to hear what you have to say after you watch that one, because that one is oof.
Yeah, I need to watch it. I need to just stop messing around. I don't know how I have a psychocinematic podcast and I haven't seen, and I claim to like alien horror.
Yeah, you can watch it.
I just sound like a jackass. All right, well, this was awesome.
Yeah, it was.
And Nope comes out in July, so.
You know what? I think it actually comes out on my wife's birthday. I think it's the 22nd.
Well, tell her to move it. Or just go see it on her birthday.
Oh, no, we're going to see it on her birthday. She already, when we watched the trailer and it said the date that it's getting released, she's like, okay, so I guess we know what we're doing for my birthday. I'm like, yeah.
Heck yeah. That's what I would do too, honestly. Like when it's Jordan Peele, like he's my top dog for movies.
Yeah.
I will give up whatever I'm doing.
Even the music, even like the music in his films. The music.
Oh my gosh,
I got
so eerie.
5 on it.
I know the fact that he used it like that. Ah, so good.
That remix is so good. Ugh.
I know. I get like chills just thinking about that trailer.
Yeah.
All right. Well, thank you everyone for watching. Thank you, Sheree, for being here and sharing your knowledge on this movie and this movie with me since I hadn't seen it yet.
Yeah.
So I'm looking forward to July when we have you back on.
Yes. Nope.
Heck yeah. Yeah. Nope. All right.
All right. Take care.
Peace out.